House Republicans are gathering behind closed doors for a secret ballot vote to nominate a new candidate for Speaker. And we've just learned Alabama Congressman Gary Palmer is one of the 8 candidates running for the position, and he has dropped out of the race. So I want to bring in Scott MacFarlane now for more from Capitol Hill. So what do we know about Palmer's decision to drop out of the race, Scott?
You can think of this like a game of musical chairs, where after each round they remove a chair and there's one fewer candidate to be the next House Speaker. Gary Palmer of Alabama, been around here a long time, but wasn't galvanizing enough support to win this nomination and has bowed out. As they conduct these secret ballot rounds, the lowest vote getter is likely to be removed from the pool. Then they have one fewer, and one fewer, and they will stop this as soon as somebody among the 7 remaining candidates has half of the Republican conference plus 1, enough to be the nominee and proceed to the U.S. House floor. But nobody is making promises they're going to take this nominee and go right to the House floor and try to get 217 votes. So that's been the practice for decades in leadership races. There seems to be some concern they could have a repeat of what's happened already, where the party's nominee just can't hit that magic number, and then there's a spectacle and an embarrassment in the process. So we'll see what they do between choosing a nominee and bringing that nominee before America on the House floor.
1 down, 7 to go in that game of musical chairs you mentioned, Scott. Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer considered a front runner in this race. Are there any other candidates gaining traction, any others that we should really be watching out for?
Let's keep a close eye on Tom Emmer. First of all, because he is a part of Republican leadership already. He's the House Republican whip. He has a base of support. He has a leadership infrastructure. And as somebody who helped run the Republican campaign committee for 2 cycles, he also has relationships with the rank and file. But look at those other names. Byron Donalds of Florida is a relative newcomer, 44 years old, been here for just 2 terms, but is a conservative media darling, a fixture on Fox News, carries a very high profile with his colleagues. And Kevin Hern heads the Republican Study Committee. How important is the conservative Republican Study Committee inside the Republican Conference? Every one of these nominees, these candidates, I should say, is a member of the Republican Study Committee. Kevin Hern and Tom Emmer both have spoken with former President Trump over the past few days, trying to ensure they have his support if they're the nominee. This is a process, though, and ultimately this is the first step of 2 necessary. Getting the nominee is one thing, but as Republicans have shown over the past month, having that nominee prevail on the House floor, that's a much different thing.
So what are Democrats up to these days? Are they just munching on a big bag of popcorn, or are they, looking for, waiting for perhaps some Republicans to come talk to them? They complain, when we spoke to some Democrats, and that's one of the things they complained about. If you're interested in bipartisanship, well, why don't you come talk to us?
And to be clear, Democrats have a candidate, too. His name is Hakeem Jeffries, the House Democratic leader, who each time these roll call votes take place on the House floor gets 212 votes, every single member of the Democratic caucus. That is also short of the necessary 217. Can there be some bipartisan bridge? There may have to be. To get to this magic number in such a fractured Republican conference, they may need to partner with Democrats at some point or another. And we do know one of the litmus tests that some Democrats have mentioned to me in our interviews about what they want to see in the next speaker. If that speaker is a Republican, they'd like somebody who's not an election denier, somebody who didn't vote to decertify Joe Biden's rightfully and lawfully won election in 2020. There are 2 election realists, to use the Democrats' phrase, non-deniers, among the 7 remaining candidates: Austin Scott of Georgia and Tom Emmer of Minnesota, who, we should note again, made outreach to former President Trump over the weekend amid claims from Trump allies he's a Trump hater because he voted to certify Joe Biden's election.
Scott MacFarlane, you call it a game of musical chairs. We know you will be there covering it all. Scott, thank you so much.
Thank you.